What's up, YouTube? So welcome back to my channel. I'm Shakira Nae, if you did not know already. I usually don't post videos like this on my channel, but today I'm recording a podcast that I have called Words Can Heal. We're in the second season. So you can also listen to the podcast at Spotify or Apple, just search Words Can Heal, or you can visit my website, shakiranae.com/wordscanheal for more information. You can submit topics for the show and everything. I'm really excited to have this on my channel today. So yeah, tune in for this episode starting now. Welcome back to the Words Can Heal podcast. If you are a new listener, whether you're on YouTube, that's right, I said YouTube, we are recording today's episode and it is going to be posted on my YouTube channel. Just search youtube.com/Shakira Nae and you can find it. It'll be under the podcast tab and playlist on YouTube. Really excited about that. This new edition for season 2 of Words Can Heal. If not, if you are listening on the good old trusty Apple or Spotify podcast, welcome back. We have season 2 in the building. I did post the first episode, I believe, last week. And it was just about turning 25. I watched Inside Out 2, avoiding an existential crisis or quarter life crisis, all of that just bundled into that episode. But yeah, so it is kind of funny since I am recording a visual version of this podcast that I don't have my intro script memorized, but we are keeping it super casual and super normal over here. So I've got my iPad and yeah, I'm gonna read my little intro because I'm excited. So yeah, welcome back to the Words Can Heal podcast. I'm your host, Shakira Nae. Words Can Heal is a faith-based podcast that provides a rural perspective on how to navigate life, society, and culture through the lens of faith. Each episode is designed to be fun, empowering, and healing, covering topics such as navigating your 20s, relationships, self-discovery, and the faith journey. Tune in for an interesting ride as we learn to heal and grow together. As I said before, welcome back. Season 2, full effect. Today's episode is it is about navigating adult friendships, and I feel like that's something that's not unfamiliar to any of us, anyone listening, even if you're like an adult, I don't know. Navigating friendships is just it is a very unique thing, because I feel like when you are younger, and especially in school, whether it's elementary, middle school, or high school, you have your friends that you are seeing every single day. And then when it's time for college, it's like cold turkey. Oh my gosh, why did you move away? At Alexia, Miss Lawyer. Just kidding. I don't know why I called her out like that. Anywho, Alexia is, she is my childhood best friend. We've known each other since we were 5 years old. That is almost 20 years of friendship right there. And this girl got accepted to Howard University, so she went to DC for her undergrad, stayed there for law school. She's currently studying for the bar, and sending prayers for that. And yeah, so I have rarely seen her, even though she is back in town this summer, and it sucks, but I'm so proud of her and I'm so excited, so I'll let it slide. Anywho, things like that, for example, not seeing your childhood best friend, even though she's in the same city as you. But when it comes to navigating friendships, especially in your adulthood, I feel like there's so many layers to it, right? So the first layer is understanding that we are all in different stages in our life, and that there's a shift from, like I said, in elementary, middle school, high school, you're seeing these people every single day. And one day, out of the blue, you just stop seeing them every day. And I believe friendships have seasons, and I believe that some friends are in your life for a season and for a reason, whether it ends on good terms or not. So yeah, I really wanted to talk about that today on the podcast. So we're going to do that. We're going to talk about it. Very first thing, 25. I feel like, again, I addressed this in last week's episode, but I feel just completely different. And I don't know if that's crazy to say. I know frontal lobe full development, but there are just certain things that when I think about it, I'm like, oh, I used to care so much about this. And right now I could quite literally care less. And that's okay. And it is new territory for me. It is new territory for me because I was raised an only child. I would technically be the firstborn. And I'm very type A, very structured individual. So for me to be saying that and being more like, oh, like at the end of the day, that really doesn't matter. It's new territory for me, and I'm kind of liking it. Still got my schedule. You want to invite me somewhere, send me the calendar invite, or I'm creating one myself. Best believe it's happening. But I feel like that kind of transitions into another part of the navigating adult friendships. But yes, 25, I feel very, very different, and it is a good feeling. And I think it's funny because where I thought I would be at 25 when I was younger versus where I actually am is mind-boggling and kind of funny. If it were up to me when I was 18, I would already be married. By the age of 25, I would be a mother, and I would be either preparing for a second child or having a second child. And that is crazy to think about, considering I am nowhere near that this age. And I'm sure we all can relate to that. We really can, especially there's a proverb in the Bible. I think it's Proverbs 16:9. And it talks about how us and our human hearts can make our plans, but it's God who establishes our steps and makes that path for us. So in my mind, I made this plan that like, oh, by 25, I'm going to be a cool little wife, hot mama, just going to have a couple of kids. God said, I establish your steps, and that's not your journey, not yet. And that's okay. Yeah, it's okay. It really is. I need to stop. The way I am on video compared to audio is completely different in a way. My armpits are sweating, and I'm just gonna leave all this in. One take Jake. Yeah, so if you catch certain pauses on the audio version of this, just know I am making some type of face for the visual version. But yes, part of being in your 20s, being in adulthood, is kind of like coping. I feel like when we think of grief, it is typically, you know what, a friend, I think she wrote a song about this. She did. But when we think about grief, it's beyond just death of a person. You can grieve different seasons of your life. You can grieve the expectations that you had that just aren't a reality. And being in adulthood, I think creating space for you to grieve where you are now versus where you hoped you would be is a very, very good practice. And it's something that I'm practicing, and it's something that because I went to therapy and still am in therapy, I have been able to recognize and decide, hey, like I want this to be different. I want to create space for myself to process, and I want to create space for myself to grow as a person. And like I said, part of that is grieving the expectations that I had. And it's hard. It really is hard, especially when I have friends who are walking in those seasons now. Like, it's their time to walk in those seasons now, and it's just not my time. And I'm navigating that. But with adult friendships, I feel like because we are all in different seasons, different stages of our lives, managing those friendships and managing the expectations on those friendships is really important. And I'll use this example first. Because firstborn, only child, quote unquote, I am very much used to a certain lifestyle. I'm very much used to, okay, we are going to make this plan. This is going to happen this way. It's going to be great because I have, by history, not had anyone interfere in that plan. By anyone, I mean like a sibling or whatever else. Like, not that it's always been my way, but like, you're the only child. You don't have to really consider too many other factors growing up. But when it comes to navigating friendships, I have been like, oh, wow, we are really out here, and we are navigating life in a different way for like each of us. So like I said, being the firstborn, I have not related often to people who are my age. I have felt that so heavily since maybe 16 or 17 years old. So starting at that age, I have had friends who were in their 20s, their mid to late 20s, and that already puts them in a different stage in their life. So I feel like I've had some experience and some practice navigating what managing friendships looks like with someone who is older, or someone who's in a different stage than you. So I was around a lot of people who were in their 20s, and obviously some were married or were in long-term relationships, and but some were single and just enjoying their life. But I was underage. So there were just a lot of different factors that have caused me to kind of look at the way I have friendships and give grace for what that looks like with each person. But with that aside, I also have friends who are my age or around the same age as me, and are experiencing things that I just simply am not. So I have several friends who are either married or now planning a wedding and stepping into a season of marriage. I have friends who have kids. I have friends who are planning to have kids or trying to have kids. And when you become a wife or a husband, or you step into the marriage role, I very wholeheartedly believe that your life should shift and look different. So with that, your number one priority outside of like your relationship with God is your spouse. Like, God entrusted you with this person for as long as you both are on earth. So it is your priority to make sure that marriage is good, that marriage is solid. And I have that understanding and I have that grace. But when it's like your friends are trying to figure that out and you wish you could hang out with them, or you're not seeing them as often or talking to them as often, it's hard and it's sad. But if it's true friendship, which I have with all my people that I'm thinking about right now who are married or stepping into a season of marriage, like, they don't cut you off completely, but it's just having grace and understanding that, like, oh, work schedules are different. So like, of course they're going to have to plan to spend time with their partner, and can't plan to spend time with other friendships over that time with their partner. And something that like recently that I've realized is I've had friends who have gone through the wedding planning season, and being a wedding photographer, let me tell you, I understand the pain that you're going through. And I joke with them, and I joke with people in general. I'm like, yeah, you'll probably hit a point where you're just like, I wish I did a civil wedding. I wish I went to the courthouse. Fun fact, I am a certified marriage officiant as of 2020, February 2020. I think it was in the middle of the pandemic, and I was just like, this would be kind of like a cool thing to have. Like, you never know. I'm on a spontaneous trip with friends and run into some people that are like, oh, I want to get married. Ooh, I can marry you. Gotcha. So, side tangent. Anywho, yes, navigating that and giving grace for that, especially those in the wedding planning season. It is hectic. It is crazy. It is exhausting. And I have never held it against a friend if they went MIA for weeks or months. And I'm just like, yeah, girl, you were planning a wedding and I get it. What's that? Oh, that's telling me that rent's due in a few days. Love that. Welcome to adulthood, baby. And yeah, so that's just an example of like one season that I've had to learn to navigate through. And that includes not talking to your friends. And I feel like there's no right or wrong way to, like I've been saying, quote unquote, navigate through that. It's just giving grace for the season that that friend is in, because there will come a time where you are also in a season like that, whether it's using marriage as the example, or you are going to grad school or pursuing your doctorate, and or you're in your career full time. There will come a season where you will be MIA and you will need to know how to manage your friendships and cope with the way the friendship is now versus the way it was 6 months ago or a year ago or a few years ago. And I feel like I'll use my childhood best friend, for example, Alexia. Sometimes we don't talk for a couple of weeks at a time, but when we catch up, even if it's just on text, it's as if no time went by. Same thing if we hang out. She switched her days for her studying, so I'm blessed. I got to celebrate my birthday with her, but I hadn't seen her in person, I think, since February when I went to DC, and it was just like no day had passed in between. And I feel like that speaks to the foundation that the friendship was built on. Now, childhood best friend, you're becoming friends when you're like 5 years old. It just hits different. It's dang near a sibling level friendship. But if you're navigating a friendship with someone who maybe you don't know as well, I think it's easy to kind of cast this negative perspective on the friendship and it's rooted in insecurity, probably, because I'll speak for myself. I've had instances where I've looked at situations and been like, oh, is it because like maybe we weren't really friends, or maybe this person never actually liked me as a human, but that was rooted from a place of insecurity, when in reality it's just, okay, A, they could very well not have liked you, but B, they could just be going through something. Like, put yourself in their shoes, or the same grace that you would like to receive. I think is very important to extend that grace to that other person. So something more recently that I talked about in therapy is I am someone who, because of my internship, I was trained to, the moment you get a text message, you respond. And while I think that is helpful sometimes, it has trained me in a way to be like, okay, the moment someone sends me a text, I need to respond. And that is not realistic. Let me tell you that. Because there are times where I will be just burnt out, exhausted, and then I am prioritizing responding to a message over having a restful, peaceful evening or reflective moment, whatever the case may be. And I have had to unlearn that, and I am practicing it, because I can tell you right now, I probably have 12 to 24 text messages sitting on my phone right now that I plan to get to when I am in a headspace to address whatever messages they are. And I think extending that grace, because I would give a friend grace if they don't respond, or if they are exhausted after a work week and don't want to go have lunch or something, because I would want them to extend that same grace to me. So switching that perspective has been something that's really helpful. And I've never, as far as I can remember, I've never been a person that's been like, oh, my friend's ignoring me. They hate me. Maybe when I was a teenager, but not as of recently. If they're not responding, they've got a full-time job. I've got a full-time job. They're probably doing school. They're probably a wife. They're probably a mother. Like, or they're just tired. Like, there are a lot of ways that you can look at situations. And like I said, look at it through a negative lens when in reality it's just, oh, I'm tired, or they just didn't want to respond, and that's okay. And switching that mindset and saying, it's not because of me, it's just the situation or the person. And even in that, when navigating adult friendships, I think it's important to reflect on your boundaries and also communicate your needs. And I'm trying to think with my friends, I haven't had an example where, because flat out, if someone disrespects a boundary, like, I bring it up, but sometimes it's just time to cut ties with that person and move on, and that's okay. So it's never really this dramatic blowout back and forth. Like, one of my best friends who I met through internship, we have never had an argument or a fight. There was a time that something happened and she brought it up and she was like, you know what? It did not make me feel great when this happened. And I was like, oh my gosh, girl, I'm so sorry. This is the backstory of why I never told you this. And then we moved forward. But again, that was that communication and addressing a boundary that, like, feeling betrayed by a situation, by me not communicating something ahead of time. And we just knocked it out. But other than that, I don't believe you should be full on arguing with your friends. I don't think it's ever that serious. I really don't. And if it's that point, you need to address whether there is a boundary that is being crossed or if it's just time to separate and move on. And again, I will say that's okay. You are allowed to have, you're allowed to control who you allow in your life during what period of time. And that's allowed to change based off your needs as a person, based off their needs, and giving grace and understanding for that. But within that, I feel like I also wanted to address what it looks like to make friends when you are in your adult years. Because I am someone who, I have been heavily involved in church since 2018, maybe 2019. So finding community has always been something that is super easy for me, especially those first few years. It was 2 people invited me into a young adult ministry. I went, and it just was such a welcoming environment and place with the people that I was able to be plugged in and connected very easily. So making friendships during that time was very easy. In addition to the friends that I already had from middle school or the handful I had in high school, it was easy because there was an environment fostering healthy, good community. And I still have friends from those period of times because there was an environment fostering finding friendship and having community, which we are not supposed to do this life alone. And I believe we are all meant to have a group of people who support us and love us and challenge us, in addition to or outside of that traditional bloodline family that you have, because everyone's family dynamic isn't necessarily healthy or the best situation for them. So I think it's important to still find that community outside of that family, because as much as we say blood is thicker than water, sometimes it's not. Oh my gosh, I just remembered I never took my medication this morning. I have like phone notifications going off. It's fine. But yeah, as much as we say blood is thicker than water, sometimes it's not, and sometimes it's situational, and family's not always able to be there for you, just like friends aren't always able to be there for you. And having a healthy community is crucial to living this life that we've been blessed with, so that we can celebrate our happy moments and we can have someone to mourn with us during our sad times and support us when we feel weak and pray for us when we can't pray for ourselves. And because I was plugged in with a church, finding community and finding friendship has always been something that was easy for me. Outside of that, when I think about places that I worked somewhere that a friend already worked. So it was easy to make that connection and make friends at work. But this more recent season of my career lifestyle, where I work now, I started there August 2022, and I knew no one there. I still remember the days where I would go to my car and eat my lunch, not because people weren't welcoming or friendly, but because I felt awkward and just out of place. And it was completely new to me, this concept of working somewhere that I don't know anyone, as silly as that may sound sometimes. But friendship in your workplaces, I believe, with boundaries, is also a great way to make friends. If you are working somewhere, and I know it's situational, I do know it's situational because bills have to be paid, money has to be made so that you can live your life. So sometimes going to work is just going to work for a season. You may not be happy with your job. You may just be clocking in to make your money and leaving. And I think that's okay for a season. But I also believe, and I'm going to make an episode about this, I believe you can find a place where you actually enjoy the work that you do, in a healthy work environment, in a safe work environment. And that's what I have now. So finding friends through that over time has been something else that I have valued so much. But that it didn't come as easily, but if you are in a safe, healthy work environment, I think that is a great place for you to build friendships. And I say good and healthy environment and safe environment with reason, because not everyone has good intentions, whether you are in a workplace or not. So in general, you just have to tread lightly. And yeah, but for my specific example, I've been able to find friends at work. And one of my close friends, Madeline, shout out to Maddie. I don't know why I keep saying that. I feel like I referenced her as Maddie in the last podcast, but I call her Mad or Mad Libs, with certain understanding that if you see me on Instagram, you would know. Anywho, because when you are in a workplace, you're spending 40 plus hours with these people. And if you don't like the people that you're around for 40 plus hours a week, then I think you need to reevaluate your situation and try and find somewhere that has a safe, healthy work environment where you enjoy the work that you do and you enjoy the people that you're around. You may not become best friends with them, but you should at least enjoy the company of the people you're around for 40 plus hours a week. And yeah, that's what I've found helpful for me as far as making friendships. I know that a lot of people do Facebook groups. And I feel, oh my gosh, I was scrolling Facebook and an article popped up. So I started learning about a street. I watched a 20-minute video of why a street was named what it was named in my neighborhood. And I think that's the adulthood setting in. I said, let me scroll Facebook. Let me see what I could read. Let me see what I could catch up on. Anywho, there are Facebook groups that allow you to find like-minded individuals to meet up and build friendships with. I personally have not use this as a tool. I may join a Facebook group so that I can learn tips on photography or pick up certain gigs. But I have a friend who, when she moved to Texas, or she's just a traveler in general. So when she found a Facebook group on Facebook, she was able to connect with people who were traveling to a specific country that she was going to, met up with them, had a good, fun, dandy time. So I feel like there are lots of ways that you can build friendships, whether that is short-term or long-term. I don't think with this day and age, there's a reason why we should be doing life alone. So yeah, Facebook groups are a great resource. I recently have been trying to run, and running is very freeing. I think whenever I run, I'm just like, I don't know, I get emotional. I'm like, God, thank you for my legs. Like, it seems so simple sometimes, but like that, like my legs are a free resource. If I am feeling sad or I need a boost of energy, I just take my legs and I go for a run or a walk by a pretty scenery, and like it's free. I don't have to pay anything. But yeah, anywho, been getting into running and run groups, run clubs. I have yet to join a run club or attend a run club meet for a few reasons. It's just excuses, I'll tell you this. The first one is I have asthma, so I'm still learning how to run with asthma and how to balance the pace I go, and if I have a 14-minute mile versus a 10-minute mile, it just makes a difference on my breathing. So I'm still trying to balance all that. And yeah, and then second, just feeling maybe a little insecure about that. So I haven't joined a run club or gone to a run meet, but I know there are people who, like, not everyone's going to run a 7-minute mile, which I used to when I was a kid. Actually, no, don't let me lie to y'all. They might have still been 10-minute, maybe 14-minute miles. Don't let me lie to you though. I've had asthma for a minute. I'm not saying that as an excuse, but I'm just saying it. Let the record state, let it be known. Anywho, I need to start wrapping it up because it's getting a little toasty in here. But yes, run clubs. I feel like that's a great place to meet people if you're athletic. Join a gym. And you don't have to do what everyone else is doing. I know people who join like Crunch Fitness or LA Fitness or a Sporta. And it's like, there are other smaller gyms or CrossFit facilities. I've joined Hot Works. That allows you to get that physical activity, but allows you to connect with the community that are interested in what you're doing. And lastly, I feel like another way that you can make friends is to go to free community events. Living in Orlando, we have so many events that I don't even think about it sometimes. I kind of am just like, it's just Orlando. I can't wait to get out. But there's so much to do so many days of the week, whether it's free or it's paid event. So leave your house, go out, build community. It is important. And leave space to grow and leave space for your friendships to shift and change, because I think that's only fair, because we are shifting and changing as individuals. Voice crack, first one of the podcast, I'll tell you that. We are growing and changing as individuals, and I think it's only fair that we extend that grace that we hope to receive for ourselves. And I mean, there's not really much else I could say about how to navigate adult friendships, but I just felt so led to record this and so led to talk about this because I've had to make an adjustment, and it wasn't an easy adjustment, but it was an adjustment. Like I said, I had to be okay with, maybe it's the fear of disappointing people. I don't want to disappoint people. I don't think anyone wants that feeling of knowing that they disappointed someone. So sometimes I am very much the friend that's like, okay, even if I'm exhausted, even if I'm tired after a work week, I want to make time for this friend or this opportunity to hang out with this individual. But sometimes, like, while it is important to kind of make that sacrifice, other times I feel like it's okay to not, and know your boundaries. And if you're in the right friendships and you have the right people in your corner, then they will be supportive of that. And that's what I've found 10 times out of 10, that if I'm exhausted, I could just communicate that, like, hey, thanks for the invite, but I can't I don't have the capacity to go, or I'm not in the right headspace. But thanks for checking in on me. And it's like, all right, cool. Like, I'll let you know next time. So just monitoring the way your friends react around you, and kind of looking at those friendships and seeing like, hey, is this something that's benefiting me in this season of life? Is this something that's benefiting the other person in the season that they're in? Sometimes friendships take pause. Sometimes they end. Sometimes they circle back. They revive. But I think, just like I said, leaving that space and creating that space for us to just keep growing as individuals is so important. So yeah, thanks for tuning in to this podcast, Words Can Heal. You can listen on Apple podcast or Spotify. Just search Words Can Heal. You can submit topics to the show at shakiranae.com/words can heal, as well as see the other streaming platforms available. And now you can watch episodes on YouTube. I don't know if everyone will be like a visual episode of me sitting down and talking, but you can now find the episodes, at least starting in season 2, on YouTube. Yeah, if this was helpful, go ahead, let me know in the comments. Let me know in the show poll that I have on Spotify. I want to hear your thoughts, and submit a topic on the website if you're interested. You can follow me on Instagram at the Shakira Nae, or my business page at Shakira Nae Media Co. There you'll find photography and just more short clips of the podcast. But yeah, thanks for listening. I hope this was helpful, and until next time, bye.